Hello, everyone out there. Welcome to this online JS2 Cultural and Creative Arts CCA class. I am Onyendi Bernard Ogochukwu. We'll be looking at a topic, tie and dye. Now, most people, when they hear this tie and dye, most people think it is just for somebody to tie it to herself and the person will die. And that is not what we are talking about here. As time progresses, we'll get to know what it is. Okay, now let's look at the objectives. Now, objectives include at the end of this online class, learners should be able to 1. Define tie and dye, 2. Tie various methods in fabrics for dyeing, 3. Prepare dyeing process, 4. Dye various fabrics. Now, for us to conduct this tie and dye practical, there are certain materials that needs to be on ground. Now, instructional materials or some instructional materials that we'll be having or have to put in place. Number 1, we have fabrics. Number 2, we have plastic bowls. We have rubber gloves. We have dye. Now, the dye is going to be of different colors. Now, depending on what you want to do. So, if you want to use just one color for your dye, it's okay. But if you want to use various colors, that's like you have to have different colors of dyes. Then we have our threads or rope or the threads or ropes that are actually used after you finish applying your any folding techniques in which you want to use. So after doing that, you can use your thread or your rope, then you tie your fabrics. Now there are cases where you also want to use needles, etc. Now, meaning of tie and dye. Not just somebody ties to herself and the person will die. Now, meaning of tie and dye. Now, tie and dye consists of folding, twisting, pleating, or crumbling fabrics or garments and bounding them with strings, rubber bands, rope, etc., followed by the application of already prepared dye. Okay, so let's go to tying techniques in tie and dye. Now, there are a lot of tying techniques, but we just look into these ones. Number 1, we have knotting, we have pleating, we have marbling, we have stitching, we have concentric square, we have circle method, we have crumbling tying, etc. Now, these are some kind of folding techniques in which you can apply on your white fabrics. Now, whatever folding techniques in which you apply, you definitely get a design after you've applied your dye. You're definitely going to get a design. So, having seen all this, we move to now we have materials and tools for tie and dye. For your tie and dye to take place, just as I said earlier, there are certain things that need to be on ground. Now, number 1, we have the fabrics, white to be precise, white fabrics. Now, we have the dye pigments. You can have just one color of dye, or you can have as many colors as you want. Then we have the chemical, the caustic soda. We also have plastic bowl for mixing of your dye. For those that want to use different colors, or even if you want to still use one, you still have to you still have to stir properly to ensure that the dye is the color of the dye develops properly. Now we also have hand gloves. Now this is very, 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 very important, because the hand gloves, if you do not put on your hand gloves, remember you are working with chemicals. So if you do not put on your hand gloves, I could remember when I tried working without hand gloves, I know the outcome. So you have to work with your hand gloves. Then the other one is your wooden stick. Now the wooden stick is to stir all the mixtures in which you have in the bowl. You stir them. I won't put in your dye pigment, chemicals, and the rest of them. Now you add warm water, so you stir properly to ensure that everything they agree or they mix properly inside the bowl. Now another thing we'll be looking at is the rope for tying, the thread, rubber bands, etc. Now, preparation of dye in plastic bowl. Okay, so for you to prepare your dye, Now these are the steps in which you are to take. Now, having your bowl on ground, now you add your pigment, that's your dye pigment. Add your dye pigment, add your caustic soda, add your hydrosulfide, add salt, then you add what boiled water, and you stir the combination. Ensure you stir properly to make sure that the whole thing is properly mixed together. You stir very well. So allow it to cool for some minutes for colors to develop fully. So as you put in your warm water or your boiled water, use your stick, your woody stick, and stir properly to ensure that the colors the color mix properly, and the color is also what properly what developed. Now, dyeing process. I haven't gotten your bowl of dye ready. Now, dyeing process. Now, get your fabrics washed, then you dry them and apply any suitable folding techniques and tie with rope, thread, or rubber bands. Now that's to say that before you start using your fabric, ensure that it is properly washed. You dry them, then you can now apply any folding techniques, just like as we mentioned before, the knotting, marbling, and the rest of them. So you apply your folding techniques, then you use your rope or your thread or rubber band and what you tie. Now the essence of you tying is that your dye should be able to penetrate certain area and what leaving certain areas. That's the essence of you tying. Okay, number two, we have wet tied fabrics with cold water for easy and even penetration of dye. Now that's that's in the case of those that do not want to dip in their fabric into a bowl of dye. Now, if you don't want to dip your fabric into a bowl of dye, you can as well put it in a let's say a net. Then you use a kind of bottle with a pointed tip containing your dye. Now you pour on your fabric those areas you want the dye to penetrate. You pour your dye properly. Pour as many times as you can so as the fabric to absorb the dye properly, so that the dye will penetrate into the fabric. Now the other one is that it must stir constantly with stick or hand wearing gloves. Now that's those that dipped their fabrics into dye, so you continue stirring it to ensure that the dye penetrates into your fabric so you can be able to achieve your design. Now the other one is that remove from bowl if immersed and squeeze out gently excess dye. Now after you've put in your fabric into your bowl, now you after some time you bring it out from the bowl, then you squeeze it gently. Ensure that the roping which you use in tying it does not get loose. So you squeeze gently so as the excess dye in it will just drain out. Now the last one there is that you hang the dried fabrics for it to get dried. Now these are those things I've just talked about. Now this is what this these are the things I've just talked about. You see the missing of the dye. You see dyeing process, putting your fabrics into what your dye. That is in the case of those that want to put in their fabrics into the bowl, contain into the bowl. Now we also have the other one that do not want to dip in their fabric into the bowl. Now you see a method. You see this bottle with a pointed tip carrying what dye, and it's be what pour on the fabric gently. So we also have now after pouring your dye and all of that. Now this is what you'll be having. Yes. So you allow it to stay for some time before you don't just bring it out from the bowl or putting on or pouring your dye on it and you just lose. No, you have to allow it for some time so it will get dry before. Okay, so other dyed fabric. Now this is your end product. After you've completed your dyeing of fabrics and the rest of them, now this is what you get. So now after seeing all these things, now our assignment is that now having known the meaning of tie and dye, seeing the various folding techniques, dye processes, etc., you are requested to carry out your tie and dye. Yeah, this is your assignment. So you are going to do your own yourself. You can as well go through the lessons again so that if there be anything you need to know, Just go through it again and you get it. Thank you.